Hey everyone, welcome back to Hills Haulers Homestead, and it is definitely fall. They're calling now for a significant drop in temperatures next week and potentially for our first snow, so we'll see what we get out of there. Probably no accumulation, but cold enough to at least drop some flurries on us. And I really hope it doesn't amount to anything, and if it does, I hope it's a cold snow and not a heavy wet snow, because all these leaves still on these branches, that'll bring a lot of trees down, a lot of branches down across the power lines and stuff like that, so it could create some problems for some folks who are not ready. Having a home standby generator, it doesn't bother me. And now that our internet, we told our high-speed internet provider, well, we pretty much told them what they could do to themselves, because it's a good service when it works, and we really don't have any problems. But when we do have problems, it compounds, and it's ridiculous. So, when they tell you it's going to be 2 weeks before they can get somebody out there to fix our internet, that was last straw. I'm not going to do that. I work from home remotely. My wife works from home remotely. We're both registered nurses. We take care of people on the computers from home. And I know it doesn't sound like, well, you do. Yeah, no, seriously. I do chronic care management. I take care of people who are chronically ill, who have uncontrolled diabetes, uncontrolled congestive heart failure, uncontrolled high blood pressure, diabetes, congestive heart failure, and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Those are the people that I take care of, and they rely on us, so we do what we got to do for them. So I can't go without an internet provider. Thankfully, our cell phone service provider, US Cellular, has went unlimited with their internet now. I got a router or modem. It's called an Orbi. It's made by Netgear, which is a good, reliable company. That's who we've had our modems through before. And hey, 3 Roku TVs, 2 Fire tablets, 2 cell phones, and 2 people working from home, and we don't slow down. Now, they give you 300 gigs a month. If it throttles down on you after you go over 300 gigs, you can call them, and they'll fix that for you. It's a lot of data. I don't think we're going to use it all. If we do, it's a simple phone call to fix it. There's no extra upcharge. $50 a month. And I was paying over $100 a month for 100 megabits per second from the other high-speed cable or internet provider. And like I said, it was fine until it didn't work. And then when it didn't work, that's when the problem started. Anyways, so with cold weather coming and everything like that, we're ready. I got plenty of firewood. Still got a lot to do before I'm ready to start burning firewood, but I got to get the stove cleaned out, get chimney cleaned out, and everything like that. Had to cancel the order with the sawmill to get the wood for the firewood shed, because it's been since August, and I'm not judging. I understand. It's one single person doing a business, and he's that far behind. I said, forget it. I'll probably end up having to go commercial, big box store. I really don't want to do that, but that's probably going to be the route that I'm going to go, because I can't wait much longer. Anyways, so with that being said, and talking about what I do for a living, listen, we got to touch on a subject a lot of people probably ain't going to like, probably not going to interest you. Boring. Look, I'm going to tell you. In the grand scheme of all of this, if something happens, and we know right now that our healthcare system is what the hell's even holding it together at this point, I have no idea. And that's all the way across the spectrum of healthcare. I don't know what's holding it together. The costs are surging. The availability of staff is just not there. They're having to rely on travelers to fill positions. The problem is that they're wanting to pay traveling nurses and traveling staff a hell of a lot more than they're wanting to pay the staff that they currently have. That's why they can't keep people, so people are leaving. And let's just face it, society is not the most pleasant to deal with anymore, and they haven't been for quite a while. So there's a lot of people that are just kind of walking away from it. But it's going to be up to us, and it always is up to us to take care of ourselves, do the right thing that we need to do to fix our health, to improve our health, to get ourselves healthier and stuff. And what I do is we remotely monitor veterans or people. We remotely monitor veterans and patients from their homes, to where they'll send us their blood sugars, their blood pressure, their weights, any symptoms they may be having, or anything like that. We get that almost in real time each day. We'll call them, find out what's going on, if there's anything out of their normal average. We provide education to fix those problems. Now, I can tell you, as my job, diabetes is one of the main areas that I focus a lot on. And, we have a high diabetes population here in West Virginia. I think probably one of the highest in the nation. And we have a huge type 2 diabetes population. Type 1 diabetes is a different animal to deal with, but type 2 diabetes is usually from a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle disease is what they refer to it now as they come to understand it more and more. So if you are a type 2 diabetic, I'm going to stand here and tell you that your diet, your way of eating, your eating habits are major contributing factors to your diabetes. They're major contributing factors to where you're at. Unless you end up with a different type of diabetes, type 3C diabetes. I know you've probably not heard of that. It's not rare, but it's not very common. So don't hold yourself to some kind of standard if you think that, you know, your diet's not the problem, unless you've been diagnosed with anything other than type 2 diabetes from a pancreatic injury or anything like that. Your diet and your lifestyle is what's led to your diabetes. And that's it. Just generalizing. I don't know your history. I'm not asking your history, and I'm not here to give medical advice. But what I am going to tell you is that if I can work with a patient and from 5 months time, in 5 months time, if I give them new ideas, new ways to eat, different foods to eat, what specific foods and macronutrients to cut out, basically carbs, and I can take that person and just with the education that I provide them and them being compliant and doing what they need to do, take their hemoglobin A1C from 12.3 to 6.5 in 5 months. I can tell you, you can do it too. Now, the reason I'm saying this, and I'm not bragging, this isn't a one-time shot. We do this all the time. This is measurable data that we get all the time from the people that we serve, okay? If you do what you're supposed to do, you can do this. We have had people come completely off of diabetes medications. We've had people come completely off of blood pressure medicines. I am an example of the blood pressure medicine. Last July of 2021, I went off of the standard American diet, and I was trying to eat even healthier. I was trying to stay away from some of the refined stuff. I was trying to do the whole wheat, the whole grains, the, you know, more organic type stuff, and it wasn't working. And after research, last July 2021, I went for basically an elimination diet, and I went straight carnivore. And within the first 10 days of going carnivore, I come completely off of my reflux medicine that I've been on since 1997. Completely off of it in 10 days. In 22 days time, I had to stop taking my blood pressure medicine because I almost passed out every time I stood up. For more than a year now, I have taken no prescription medications. I have taken no reflux medication. I have taken no blood pressure medicine, and I am on no medicines whatsoever. I am 51 years old. I'm not the epitome of health. I am not the poster boy for good health. Otherwise, I can't get into a structured and scheduled exercise regimen because of the lifestyle that I live with working and trying to keep up with the homestead, though I do stay active. So I can't get into a scheduled, this often type of education program, but I am trying. But your diet is going to be your biggest factor that's going to play into your health. And why do I say this? Because prescription medications, if you're a type 2 diabetic, some people are insulin dependent type 2 diabetics because it's gotten that far gone. I have seen people come completely off of insulin, go to just the pills only. I've seen people come completely off of insulin and no medications. That doesn't mean everybody can do it, but most of the people can do it. All you have to do is dedicate yourself to getting yourself healthier. Now, why am I harping on this? This isn't a health channel. This isn't that. This isn't that. This is, if things continue to go south, if things continue to get bad, and it does not look like they're going to get any better. The market has not hit the bottom. The Fed is not done screwing everything up. Congress is not done overspending, and they are not done overtaxing us, and our economy is terrible. The world's economy is terrible. If things get bad and you cannot get your medicines, supply chain, they weren't even making Motrin in the U.S., okay? China was making almost every bit of medication that we get. If we get to a point where you can't get or afford your medications, you're going to be in serious trouble. You're going to learn real quick in a hurry how important those medications are because you haven't changed your diet and your lifestyle. Now, when I say diet, I don't mean you have to cut calories, you have to do this, you have to do that. I'm not talking about Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, or none of that kind of stuff. I'm telling you eating. There are 3 macronutrients that we live on, and that is fat, carbohydrates, and protein. You can live without one of those. and that is carbohydrates. You do not have to have carbohydrates. Now, again, type 1 diabetes is a whole completely different animal. I don't know people's histories. I don't know the particulars of it. I can't sit and make you do what you need to do. But I'm going to tell you, less than 100 years ago, before they had insulin, before they had metformin and glipizide and Trulicity and Victoza and all these new fancy medicines that they have now to treat diabetes, the way that they treated diabetes was put them on a meat-heavy diet or a high-meat diet, because they didn't have any other way of treating it. And that's how people lived. Now, you look at today in America, 6 out of 10 Americans, 6 out of 10 adult Americans have at least one chronic health problem. At least one chronic health problem. Asthma, hypertension, high blood pressure, diabetes, something along those lines. 4 out of every 10 Americans, adult Americans, has 2 or more chronic illnesses. And then you turn around and look at that, and like, here we are, we're in 2022, almost 2023. Man, people are living longer. You know, we've got technology, we've got advancements in this, we got advancements in that, but yet we are living less, healthier, and we are worse off than our ancestors were 100 years ago. Now, I just told you 6 out of 10 Americans have one chronic illness, 4 out of 10 have 2 or more. In 1935, 1 out of every 12 Americans had a chronic illness. Now, you can sit here and say, oh, well, they had less population. They did have less population. But if you take that population today and add to what we have at the current value, you're going to more than triple it. So yes, they had a lower population, but these people were eating real foods. They were eating whole foods. Food was their ingredients, not 27 different ingredients in a damn Dorito chip, okay? So we have to fix ourselves. We have to choose a healthier lifestyle. We have to choose a better way of eating. Ultimately, I just sprayed myself on my phone and everything. We should be eating, ultimately, we should be eating more along the lines of an ancestral diet. And that is eating what's available to us locally, where we live, and seasonally. And that would include a high meat, high animal-based diet. That's the only way. You have to look at carbohydrates as something that the body does not need. All you have to do is watch the show alone. You see where these guys getting these men and women both, they put them in a survival situation, usually in a very cold, terrible climate. The first thing these guys need is fat. Fat and protein, fat and protein, fat and protein. They don't care about carbohydrates. That's because they don't need them. They need that fat, they need that protein. That is what the human body is meant to eat. That is what the human body is meant to process and survive on. Now, you can sit and say that the human gut is inefficient, that the teeth aren't meant to eat meat. We are truly omnivores. We are truly omnivores, but we are also meant to be more heavy on the animal-based products than we are the vegetable and the plant-based products. Beyond Meat is going out of business. All you gotta do is look at that. All of the companies, the restaurants and stuff like that started, selling their product, Beyond Meat, they're dropping it. The CEO of the company quit. Cows and ruminants turn grass into meat. We don't need somebody doing it in the lab. So anyways, I'm going to push that. I'm going to tell you a carnivore or a ketovore, which is a combination ketogenic carnivore diet, is going to be your best option. Don't think and don't believe the hype about red meat. Red meat does not contribute to your cholesterol. Your liver produces a cholesterol that they test in your system. When they test your cholesterol level, that cholesterol is not coming from red meat. That cholesterol is coming from your liver, because your liver has to produce cholesterol to process all the crap that we're eating. So I could give you case after case after case to where people, I've taken them away, and this is what I tell them. I said, I understand. You're born here, you're raised here. We eat this typical standard Appalachian diet. We eat high carbohydrate, lots of bread, lots of corn, lots of potatoes, lots of tater chips, lots of soda pop, all that kind of stuff. It's terrible. And these are the foods that people, and minus the junk foods per se, people grew up with this kind of stuff. I had a 90-some-year-old guy, 95-year-old guy, 93-year-old guy, 10 years ago when I started into this particular specialty in my job, who, when I found out why his blood sugars were, I was trying to figure out why his blood sugars were constantly staying high. When I found out, it was because the guy was eating potatoes every 2 to 3 times a day. And when I told him, I said, you got to cut back on those potatoes, he gave me a good old lashing about the fact that potatoes kept him and his family alive during the Great Depression. And he had a fondness for potatoes because they kept him and his family alive during the Great Depression and hard times, and he wasn't about to give them up. And at 90-some years old, I wasn't about to argue with him anymore. So that's the point of that. Once you reach 95 years old, things change a little bit. But we have to take control of our health. We have to take control of a situation that otherwise we would not be able to control should the health system collapse, should the economy collapse, should things just pretty much go to hell in a handbasket. You have to fix your diet. You have to fix your way of eating. I've done whole foods plant-based for 2 months. I did pretty much a vegan diet. I ate raw, I ate fresh, I ate local, I ate everything I was supposed to eat and virtually none of what I wasn't supposed to eat, and it was the most miserable I've ever been in my life. I had to get off of it, okay? And it was because any symptoms that I was having as to why I was changing my way of eating were exacerbated or worsened by that diet. When I flipped and switched to what I do now, I don't have those symptoms and problems. All I got to do is eat some carbs, and that does it. I'm done. So that's why I eat and do the way that I do. And that has made me now no longer dependent on pharmaceuticals. So do yourself a favor, do your family a favor, do your loved ones a favor, do your children, your grandchildren a favor. Turn that stuff around. Get yourself better, get yourself healthier, dedicate yourself to eating better foods, eating a more animal-based diet. Get rid of the seed oils, no vegetable oil. The only oils you should be using, the only oils you should have in your home is coconut oil, olive oil, coconut oil, olive oil, and avocado oil. And then otherwise you're going to use butter or ghee. You should have no sunflower seed oil. You should have none of that crap. None of that crap. No peanut oil, none of that stuff. So do your reading, do your research on that kind of stuff. Read what I'm talking about and telling you about, because I'm going to tell you otherwise. Everything that's out there with the food pyramid and the government guidelines and the government recommendations and all of the healthy recommendations that come from the big food companies that produce the stuff that's killing us. Hey, I'm going to tell you something. They're not going to tell you anything different. Pharmaceutical companies do not profit from healthy people. They don't profit from healthy people. And big food companies that produce these quick, easy, terribly unhealthy, terribly bad meals don't profit from people who cook from scratch, eat at home, and don't eat out. That's where the big changes need to be. But anyways, do your research. You're going to find this whole plant-based vegan type push that's been going on is failing miserably. It's pretty much falling into the woke, go broke type of thing. So that's where we need to make our focuses at. And that should be taking control and charge of our own health by fixing what and how we eat, to make us less dependent on pharmaceuticals that has this many side effects. So you have to take another pharmaceutical to offset those side effects and another pharmaceutical to offset those side effects. And ultimately, in the end, you have a range of controlled side effects from multiple different medications. That's it. I'm not going to continue to harp on it. I am going to encourage you to start looking at and reading more into the ketogenic type, carnivore type diets and way of eating. Do not take ketogenic as ketoacidosis. Ketogenic and ketosis are nutritional states. They are not pathological states that you would see in an uncontrolled diabetic. That's it. Folks, starve that system. It's definitely trying to starve you. Get prepared. Stay prepared. Do your reading and your research. Take care, and God bless.